Right. I've been playing around with AI stuff in the last little while. I often do it on a Sunday now, just to have a bit of fun. I'm predominantly a photographer. I'm not a artist in the sense of a painter or a drawer or anything like that, or a sculptor or anything like that. My art is photography, and my drawing or painting skills are just enough to do what's required in editing of photos, drawing back in strands of hair, things like that. But what I do quite like is playing with the AI stuff, and editing the photographs or the images that the AI generates. One of the things I tend to do is treat the AI generated image just like I would a photograph. So I use the prompt to generate an image. I then look at that, and if I like it enough as the base material for an image, then I take that into Lightroom or Photoshop and edit it as if it was a photograph. So balance the light, maybe chuck in a little vignette if I want, or balance the colours if necessary. Generally, most of the time I don't have to do a heck of a lot. It's like getting the image right in camera. But occasionally you have to sort of remove little weird bits that, depending on the prompt that I've put in. Now, I don't use anything fancy for the AI. I just use what comes with Adobe, which is in Photoshop, which is running off, I think it's Adobe Firefly 3, I think. I can't remember now. All I think of it is a bunch of pixies that make an image. But I could go and use other more complicated things that you sign up for and that, but I really can't be bothered at the moment. At some point when I want to do something really extensive, I might do something like that, because some of the AI image generators out there are really, 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 really good, and I can see why people use them if that's all they're going to do. But I'm predominantly a photographer, and the AI is just my bit of fun and relaxation on a Sunday afternoon, or in this case morning. So I thought I'd do a bit of a video on creating AI images the way I do. Other people could be vastly different. They may not use the Adobe stuff. They may use some other fancy program they signed up for. They may not do any editing whatsoever. They may just leave it as is. They also may be far better at creating prompts than me, because I've discovered that that's an art in itself. And what I have been doing is taking descriptive passages out of books, lines out of books, lines out of songs, even song titles or band names, and running them through and seeing what it comes up with. And some of what it comes up with are quite interesting, and I quite like to compare the description in, say, a sentence in a book, and imagine what I would see that like in my head before I let the AI do its thing, and see how big a difference there is between how I'd interpret it if someone had given me that description and says, I want a photograph that depicts this, and what I would create, versus what the AI creates. And sometimes they're close, sometimes they're miles apart. So it's quite interesting to see that comparison. Some of my prompts are actually quite short. So, and I've got a specific way I do it. I generally do quite a few at once, so I'm doing a series on futuristic cities at the moment, and I do quite a few at once, and I save them, and I treat the image that I save as the original, just like the original photograph. I then bring that in, sometimes edit, sometimes I don't do any real editing at all, and I then save that out as the JPEG I'm going to use, because I just like to have the original, even if there isn't really much editing. It's just like a photograph. I got it right in camera, didn't need to do any editing. I still keep the original separate from the generated JPEG. So, without further ado, let's flick over to Photoshop and give it a go. Turn the camera off. Right, first thing I do, file, new, and I've got this size created here. It's the same ratio as my big monitor, and I've got this specific size because it's close to the same number of pixels as my camera sensor, but not quite. In fact, I think from memory it's double the actual pixel ratio of my monitor, so it's the same ratio, but it's double the number of pixels or something or other. It's just a size I've set with all these parameters over here for my images, because most of them start off like this for me. So double click that, close that down for the moment. Go over here down the bottom to generate. Now I do them in stages. You've got all this here that you can play with. Effects, choosing an image, a reference image, all that sort of thing. I don't start off with that. What I do is I start off with a prompt and see what we get. Then I add in, often I'm going for more photo than art, depends on what I'm doing. And so what I do is I start off with the prompt first. In this case, future. Let's see if I spelt it right. Futuristic city in a forest. And I haven't done anything else here. No style, no effects. Haven't even chosen art or photo. I just want to see what it comes up with first. It may come up with complete rubbish. It may come up with something vaguely interesting. Wait a bit. I've already did a whole lot yesterday. So let's come up with some interesting ones. And if we zoom in, from a photographer's point, there's bits here that I don't like. But that's an interesting take. What's this one like? Because it gives you three. That one I really like. It's very much like one of the other ones I did yesterday where I didn't put the word forest in. And again, that one's actually quite good. So I might keep all three of these as is. But one thing I'll do first is I'll go back and I'll click photo and get it to regenerate another three and see what we come up with. And that's an interesting take. That's an interesting take. All of these I feel are interesting. Now I could go and choose art just to see. I don't often do art for something like this. Getting a message if I want to join someone for coffee. So what I'll do is I'll choose art for this video just to see what it comes up with. And the difference isn't, see, that's very much like That's very much like, what is it, that one there? No, that one there. Oh no, it's a little bit different. That's not bad. It's a slightly different take on these. I like the colour in that one. That's not bad. Quite like that. Goodness knows what the hell that is. That's something. You can see the resolution's not outstanding. It's not too bad. But that's the AI stuff in Firefly. It's got a limited resolution. But I'm not too worried about that. I'm not going for specifically a photorealistic image. I'm going for something that makes an interesting piece of art. And you know, one of these days I might veer off into some of the other AI apps that do a higher resolution. I don't know. So I'll put that back to photo. And then sometimes, if it's not, this is nature-based, city nature-based, so you don't want to get too crazy with the reference picture bit. But sometimes I might go in here and see if there's anything in the default list of reference images to use and see what it creates. Sometimes I'll go, in something like this, I might be tempted, and I might do it later on, might be tempted to go and reference one of my own landscape photographs, because it's interesting to see how much it pulls from the reference image in the generation of an image. Let it generate that, see what we come up with. Okay. Just reduce the size of that so I can both see and navigate. Interesting. Not quite what I was looking for, but it's following, obviously following the style of the image. For what I'm doing, yeah, I'm not interested in these, so I'll delete them. But I might go in here and pick a different, I'll try that one. Pick that reference image and see what it generates. Some prompts suit certain types of references quite well. And you get some quite funky stuff. So it's interesting to see. It definitely picks up the style of that image, but I'm not really interested in that. One that's quite interesting is, where is it? This one here can be quite interesting to experiment with because you get some quite wacky stuff. Sometimes you get something interesting, sometimes you don't. Yeah, see, yeah, not really what I'm looking for. I'll try one more because I saw something in these reference images that might have been interesting. That. See what that gives us. Okay, now that is interesting. That one I quite like. Out of them, I quite like that one. I find that one a little bit weird and boring for what I want, so get rid of that one. I'm not overly impressed with that one. Right, so I've got 10 of them there. That'll do me for now. So what I do now is, because I want to keep the original, I don't start doing my editing here. What I do is I save these. In my case, because I've messed with the keyboard shortcuts. For me it's Control Shift S, and I give it a name. Generally, actually in this case I might go back here. I'll just grab since this description, this prompt is quite short, I'll use the prompt as my file name. Futuristic City. I like capital letters on my words. In a forest. And because I follow a very specific naming thing for these. Now. Then I always save these. This is in my root AI generated folder. I save these as TIFF files. You can see I've already done a few more in here. No layers. Hit save. Okay. Then I delete that one from the set and then go on and repeat this process. So what I'll do is I'll just rip through these. I'll pause the video recording for a moment and come back to it in a sec once I've saved these out. Right, I'm back again. This is the last one I saved. Now I don't go straight in and edit them from here. With this one I probably could, because from what I can tell there's no reason to do anything much to this one. So I might just, I have a bit of an issue with some of this down here. These bits here don't appeal to me, so I might use the because of how they create this as a smart ladder, remove tool doesn't work directly on here, so all I do is go Control Shift Alt E, creates a compressed flattened copy on top, and just see what the remove tool does to these bits here. With any luck it'll give me a result I like. Yep, that'll do. Now there's a few things I can run this through to boost the resolution and stuff like this, but I'll leave it like this for now, because I look at these as creating art. It's not like creating a photo. I'm not going for photorealistic or anything like that, although I will edit it like a photograph. But I quite like the result here. What I do is I look around for anything that I find a little bit odd. These little bits of light here I personally think are distracting. This one at the edge, across here there's that one and that little piece, and this spot right here, I don't like little tiny bits of bright light right on the edge of an image. And you can see how it didn't quite get the colouring right. So I will undo that and I will go to Mr. Generative Edit, Generative Fill, Generate, and let it do the job. These are probably the two main tools I use now when it comes to editing bits out of images. That one. but everything there seems to be okay for me. I'm comfortable with what I've got. So now I'll go Control Shift E to flatten that, and I'll save that as JPEG, and that was the last image, so it was this one here, Forest 10. And all I do, my saving procedure is basically I have a naming system that I like using. Other people may not see the point of it, but it's the way I like doing things. In the edited folder, save. Then I've got a preset action over here, because I do like to put my signature on my what I'm going to put up on social media, and there's a couple of things I do for that. One of which is I don't want it sitting there. I'll put it across this side this time. Hard to see. Let's change the blending mode. Yeah, you can just see that it's me. Sweet. And that's pretty much my procedure for doing these. Most of the time I'm not using Lightroom to edit. I've got a bunch of other ones in here to do at some point. But yeah, most of the time I'm not using Lightroom. But one of the things I'll do is I'll synchronize this folder. It'll bring in all those ones I just created. Find Forest 10, wherever the heck that is. It's that one there, I think. No, that's 8. That's 10 there. Move that to the edited. That's done. And I'll generally first look to see if there's anything I want to do in Lightroom, like I might decide to go into calibration here somewhere and boost the greens. Have a look and see what happens if I there's how it was. I might want to give that a more sunny feel. Now I could use the remove tool to get rid of all this up here, but because of some of this over here is a little bit more tricky, I prefer to do that in Photoshop. So I will send that to Photoshop. One of the things I'll look at first is this here. I'm going to end up removing all these bits and pieces, so I won't step through that right now. And this is where the remove tool is really handy. All I'm really doing is tidying the image up a bit, because I don't know quite how it comes up with these bits, but and I'll go through and tidy that up and then save it out, and that's pretty much it. So that's pretty much what I do with the AI generation. And I pull these TIFF files in, edit them mostly in Photoshop, generally not much to do in Lightroom, depends on what I'm doing, and that's pretty much it. So yeah.